Anybody here? Oh, turn around, turn around. So we're out here doing a little project at the crop dusters. Jake should be back here with another load of gravel. Let's see if I can get this turned around. There we go. All right. So right now what we're doing is enlarging the area where they bring in supplies, chemicals. They bring in trucks. If you saw my one video, I think it was on Instagram, Facebook, they were loading dry fertilizer into the plane. That's a air tractor. That's a 602. That's a lot of horsepower. Just a wee bit more than that 14G. But not as much as the filthy whore over here. I can say that live. So anyway, the other day I took the grader and cut the grass and pushed all the crap up here, and I was gonna use my GoPro to go live, but for some reason my phone didn't want to let me use it as a mobile hotspot, so I had to call Verizon, and I was on chat with them for an hour. The guy sent me a link to a detailed, thoroughly confusing explanation of how you make it work. Anyway, I did get it working, and now I know how to do it. So I've had a devil of a time getting this rear tranny to shift on the hooer because of the switch. I'm going to show you that. If you follow me on Facebook or Instagram, you could have seen all that stuff. My PC's still not up and running. Dave Jones helped me get a new installation of Windows 11 downloaded. I've put a new hard drive in my computer, a 1 terabit, whatever, TB, tuberculosis. And we tried to install it, but it wouldn't let it boot. So I have got to get on the phone with him again, and we got to add another file to it. So, oh, it's cops. Something going on. Anyway, this is the Aberdeen-Springfield Canal. This is probably one of the largest canals down here in the valley. This goes all the way up, probably 10 miles above, upstream of where I live, at least. And this flows all the way to American Falls. And believe it or not, it dead ends clear down by Lamb Weston, which is a potato processor. They make McDonald's hash browns and French fries. That's the nicest smelling place in the world. Makes you hungry. So the last 2 days, there's just been tons and tons of dead suckers floating down the canal. I don't know why. So anyway, let me show you what's going on with the hooer. So there's a switch in here. It's called a clock switch. And every time the transmission shifts, it turns the contactor, sends a signal to the rear one to shift. And it's had a problem making contact, so I took it apart, cleaned it all up, and then it wouldn't work, so I took it apart again and noticed that the rotating switch in there, the contacts were all broke, and it was only making contact sometimes. So I went home and I took an old scraper switch, which is 3 times as wide, has 3 wipers in there, but the first wiper is a single one like they use in this, and I took it out, put it back together, tested it shift. Then the other day when I was moving that dirt, the rear engine would only engage when the tractor was in first gear, not second, which was weird because there's only 4 speeds in the rear transmission and there's 8 in the tractor. So when you go to first in the tractor, it engages first in the scraper. When the tractor shifts to second, it still stays in first in the back. Then when you go to third, it goes to second in the scraper. Fourth, it stays in second. And it would only engage in first gear and fourth gear. So I took the dumb thing apart yesterday, and because the rear engine only shifts once every 2 times the front one shifts, because as you know, 8 divided by 4 is 2, this many. Anyway, Lord, I apologize. Anyway, because it would only shift every other gear and it would miss some. So there's 2 contacts. So when it's in first, it's on one contact. When it shifts to second, it rotates and engages that same contact. So there's a strap between them and a screw, and the screw is loose. You ever had a loose screw? And then the ends that go on there, these switches are made in the USA, but they have a 90-degree female spade connector, if I can say female spade, and where they're bent so they fit tight, those crack and break off. So I had to get some Napa ones and replace them. Oh, there goes another cop. Probably a cat in the tree. You gotta have at least 4 or 5 officers, the fire department and the EMTs anymore for an emergency. So after I did that, I got it to work, but while I was loading the dirt, I only had first gear. That was the only gear that the rear tranny would engage. So we're reconnecting. So Matt called me. We needed steer tires for Petey, and he went up to Jack's Tire in Idaho Falls, and they've only got one of the Goodyears. So I told him to just get the one, let's get it on, and then whenever they get the other one, we'll get it and put it on. They got some Uniroyals for $400. I said, no, we don't want any of that cheap crap. Les Schwab had Double Coin and a bunch of other Chinese brands. I'm not putting Chinese steer tires on, forget it. Anyway, we got the Goodyears because we've put them on the front of the Kenworth. They're wearing really good, and they're Goodyears, made in America, I hope. Abandoned ship, women and children first. How come? What ship are you abandoning? So anyway, where was I? Oh, the shifting problem with the Horror. So when I loaded the dirt, I could only load in first gear, but that's okay. I just kind of had to pothole it. So I've taken it over here, and we're going to widen that out so semis can get in and out, because they bring in these big long semis with the bulk fertilizer, and they have to pull up in there. When the plane comes, they back in, and the boom sticks out over the hopper, and they fill it up. Anyway, they need more room, so that's what we're doing. Anyway, I'd be way more if Petey was the left front tire on the inside was cupping real bad, and when they tread left, it shimmied when you went down the road. So I told Matt we better get a tire on it before we have a catastrophe. So want to show you back here how these shift. So the reason you can have 8 speeds in the front and 4 in the back is because the rear engine has a torque converter. It's not direct drive, and so the converter takes up the slack in the odd gears where they don't match. So I think this is the upshift solenoid, that's the downshift solenoid. There's a box back in there that has the switch in it, so it gets a signal from the tractor transmission, and it goes through that switch, and there's an upshift part of the clock switch and a downshift, and then the synchronization circuit. So that's going to travel through the upshift side, and the synchronization, it's going to send a momentary signal here, and this is hydraulic, so it's going to move the shift spool. As soon as it does that, it's going to break contact in the switch box, and if everything's correct, the circuit goes around through the sync switch into the gear you selected, and everything's good. if things go wrong, that's called the lube solenoid. And the reason it's there is if it doesn't shift correctly and things aren't right, it disconnects the power to the lube solenoid, and that dumps all your high pressure, so none of your clutches will engage. It's still providing lube pressure, but no charge pressure for the converter or for the controls or clutches to engage. And that's just a safety. And they're very reliable and they work really good until the quality of parts and stuff have kind of gone downhill. I've never really had a lot of trouble with them. They're pretty simple to diagnose. You just need a test light and pretty easy to figure out. These are the newer style solenoids. The old ones used to have a Canal plug that screwed in two connectors, a hot and a ground, and those would get loose and burn up the connectors and wouldn't make connection. So Cat's gone to a weather pack type connector. These are a way better setup. So one of the other things you notice in some of my videos is, so when a scraper has the rear engine engaged, so let me back up, there's a switch up there on the dash. It's called the run neutral switch. When you put it in neutral, it sends a signal to the neutral wire on the tractor transmission, and that just keeps this rear one in neutral. It won't send a signal back here to shift. When you turn it to run, it will engage it. And you can be going in 8th gear and flip the switch to neutral, and it'll put it right in neutral. Yeah, you can be going in 8th gear, put it in run. Don't suggest doing that without flooring the rear engine, but it engages pretty quickly and smoothly. So where was I going with that? I don't even remember now, but so that's how you turn this transmission on and off. So when you hear me sometimes on the scraper, you'll hear it downshift and you'll hear the backup alarm beep. It's because the backup alarm runs off the reverse circuit. So when you're in reverse, there's a constant signal through there, through the sync switch, and it goes into the backup alarm. So every time it downshifts, it sends a momentary signal to the downshift solenoid and through that circuit, and so the backup alarm will just do a short beep, beep. And so that's why it does that. I've had people ask me a lot of questions about that. Somebody was asking me about the racket. Oh, it was Curly was asking me about all the racket that it was making when I was running the ejector. It's because it's so tight in there and we relined the sides. It kind of grates on the sides as it goes and squeals. And then somebody wanted to know what the clunking noise was when I turned. So the rear powertrain, the differential, has a nose spin in it, and that nose spin has big old steel jaws, and then it has some great big springs on it that allow it, when you turn, to override the jaws on the slow spinning wheel. But what happens over time is those big old heavy springs on the jaws that hook to the axle, if they get weak, it makes that popping sound. And we've found that when you rebuild them, if you use the new springs on them, they won't do that. So not a big deal, but it sounds terrible. A lot of times if you have the rear engine engaged and it's idling and there's power to it, they won't clunk like that. But in neutral, they'll go clunk, clunk, clunk. And that's what does that. So you're probably asking why we have, you're running Continental tires. Yeah, we didn't see any of those around. Nobody seems to have them. They have a lot of Chinese stuff. You're probably wondering why we have this old girl out here, and the reason is we're going to bring number one with the cab and the AC, but it had 5 gallons of antifreeze in the crankcase, and we determined that it's the compressor, because we drained the antifreeze out and started it up, and there was no gurgling in the radiator. Didn't put any more antifreeze in it, but we undid the air tank and out come antifreeze. So it's the compressor doing it. Anyway, this is the old filthy whore is what they referred to as a narrow nose. When Cat first built these, they had a narrow radiator, and so they upgraded to the wide nose ones later on because of heating problems. Um, these old 343s, which are the same engine as the 1693, they're a pre-cut motor, and that pre-cut screws down in the head and is surrounded by coolant, and that's where all the combustion takes place, is in that cup. So you get a lot of heat rejection. You get a lot of heat into the cooling system. So with a PC motor, you got to have a bigger cooling system. Anyway, I've seen a couple of these that they converted over to 3406E models. It's all doable if you want to do that. I'm sure you could go mechanical and go B model. Um, Can't hear Jake. Usually you can hear the Jake breaks. He's kind of overdue. I wonder if he stopped for lunch somewhere or something. I thought I'd get him on here. I guess if I get too windy, run out of stuff to talk about, I'll come back live when he gets back. Anyway, got any questions? Anyone? Anyone at all? Where's all the comments? Comments. Here we go. Where's the people? Oh, there we go. I like to give the old heat injection as often as I can. Hey there, Jeff. Enjoy your tutorials. Big fan of Yo Mama tires. Continental tires. Yeah, I've had those. Continentals are good. Mrs. Paydirt just put a brand new set of Continentals on her Subaru. Hello, Bruce Wilson. WB Ball 15 says, was it 1978? The filthy whore is the 79P 0321, which is probably going to put it somewhere around late 71, 72, early 72, mid 72s. I don't know. Time for a brief intermission. Yeah, the phone rang, old Yeller. We're giving her all she's got, Jim. I am. Aaron Johnson calling again. do you know Aaron? She's breaking up, Captain. Not with today's goofy mathing they are teaching our kids. Nice to see the filthy whore running. Jeff wins. Damn Skippy. Hey Jeffrey, have a great day and be blessed. Michael Weatherhead. This is hard to read in the sun. Fast moving water for a canal. Yes, it is. There's a lot of water in there. That's way over your head. There goes a little teeny dead sucker right there. There's not as many today as there was yesterday. NorCal Ray, what are you doing today, Ray? Morning, Jeff from Washington Street. Washington. So anyway, been on here 18 minutes and 36 seconds. Hi, Papa Jeff. Weather looks good there on the moon. How's the N14 running? Is she still going? The old low pressure oil leader is still going. You know, I've discovered that the oil cooler on those isn't really big enough, and PDI has recognized that on the 15s, Cummins ISX and X15s, and they've actually come up with a conversion where you have two oil coolers. I guess it dramatically drops oil pressure. So there's a lot of discussion on why they run such hot oil pressure, hot oil temperature and low pressure. And my theory is that it's, oh, there's Jake, I can hear him. My theory is it's all because fuel economy. Don't need as much horsepower to drive the pump. Hot oil certainly does keep all the water out of it, but it also oxidizes it. Anything over, I think, about 240, 230 really shortens your oil life. So even though I plugged off my thermostat housing for the cooler and made it run through the cooler all the time, The oil temperature can still get up there. Most diesels, at least all my cat stuff, are designed to run 30 degrees above water temperature under full load, and that's pretty much what they do. So this little town over here is called Pingree, Pingree. If you want to go find that on Google Earth, you'll see this runway. A lot of Italians live out here. A lot of DiGiulios that came here from Italy. Harold Talking and Entertainment Channel. Good work, Jeff. That's what I should call my channel, is Jeff Talks a Lot. Let's talk a lot with Jeff. Oh, it's a choo-choo over there. There's a choo-choo train coming, man. All right, let's go walk up here. He's going to back in here, and then I'm going to run the old Johnson valve personally. There's nothing like running the Johnson lever. So it's blowing pretty bad today. That's why they're not spraying. I hope this isn't. I hope you can hear me. That's a good looking Kenworth. Sure wish I had a new belly dump to go with it. That belly dump came from some outfit in Arizona, aggregate outfit. They plumb wore it out. So my phone isn't a 5G, so I'm thinking about getting a new phone, and then maybe these live streams will be a little better quality. I noticed they're not the best. Feel that Johnson lever. I don't know, but you left a bottle of water in there, too. Okay, well, I'll see you guys later today, possibly.